and you, and you. He wants to be your friend. Zet, sometimes you're naughty. Zet, sometimes you're funny. Zet, come on, let's play.
But have you done your homework yet? We want to tell you to remember Zet. We love you.
Nou goed julle, maats, ons het nou 'n hele spul goeders hier wat se name ons nou gaan leer. Zet en Zeti gaan dit neerskryf en dit probeer onthou. Julle kan die stelle doen daar by die huis. Nou maar goed, kom ons begin. Hier sê die boek: melk noem 'n mens mashui. Mashui. Dat is skryf neer, Zeti. Goed, dan kyk wat het ons hierso. Vleis. Nou, vleis se naam is nama. Nama. Heerlike stukkie vleis daar. Skryf neer julle en sê agterna. Julle by die huis kan ook agterna sê. Hierdie is brood. Of barato. Die Sotho woord is barato. Lekker lyk daai stukkie brood nie nou nie. Kyk hierso. Koekies. Die keke. Die keke. Heerlik. Dat is die eet gerus die keke. Nou maar goed. Verder het ons hierso 'n mes. Tipa. Tipa. Ja, sê aan 'n vork foroko. En 'n lepel leswane. Ja, daar sê 'n mes, lepel en vork. Ja, Zeti. Wat is jy dan? Dis nou 'n baie goeie vraag daai, maats. Kom ons kyk wat sê die woordeboek. Meisiekind. Musetsana. Dis wat jy is, 'n musetsana. En jy sê seun is 'n mushimani. Daar sê man. Is dit nie te pragtig nie, maat? 'n seun en 'n meisie. Julle kyk wat staan hierso. Kyk wat staan hierso. 'n ou man. Dis wat ek is. Mughalabje. Mughalabje. Ja. Hey man, wat lag julle? Nie mag gaan nie. Mughalabje. Sê agter my aan. Ja, sê. Julle kyk nou hierdie interessant.
So the new generation of Israelites went wrong. They built themselves idols like those they saw in the towns of the people who had lived in Canaan before they'd come there. Joshua and his army had left alone some of them when they occupied the country, remember? Oh, it was hard work to live in this new country, all right. They weren't even around when their forefathers lived in houses in Egypt. That was too long ago. Their parents were born in the desert and they lived in tents and only kept animals and did very little planting. Now they had to learn how to plant vineyards and sow grain. It was even a problem how to find out which time of the year to plow the soil and how to handle the animals and the implements to do it. And how did you build a plow anyway? They had to sneak up and watch the few Canaanites who had been left alive. And quite often, those weren't really the good farmers and hard-working ones at all. In Canaan, the people thought their idols were a very important part of the agriculture. They thought the idols sent the rain and made the soil and the seeds fertile. The Israelites watched them dancing around their idols and praying to them too. Maybe we should pretend to pray to their gods too. It seems to be part of getting the rain at the right time. So they worshipped those idols. They didn't talk to God in their hearts and in their minds anymore. God was just old history to them. They thought there was no difference between the God of their parents' parents and these idols of the people of their new land. They lost their friendship with God. This was the most important thing they could lose. God had brought the Israelites to this country to be his own nation, to know him personally and show to every human being that he was alive and looked after his own people. Every person in the world that ever lived should know that God wanted to save him or her from the devil that always tried to take them away from God. And one day, God would send his son, the Messiah, to the world to complete this plan to save every human being. But now the Israelites were fast losing him as their friend. So God folded his arms and waited. The Israelites would have to find out the hard way that it was important for everyone to talk to God in his or her own heart. When God didn't help them, things immediately went bad for the Israelites. The enemies came. They attacked them. They came to take their animals and children and all their possessions. They broke their vineyards and burned their houses. It was a tough way to learn an important lesson, and God was terribly sorry for them as it happened. But it is much, much more important to have God's voice inside your heart than just to have everything go well with yourself and your possessions and your family and even your own body. The next part of the lesson the Israelites had to learn was that God could help them when things really went bad for them. So he sent special people at special times to become strong enough or wise enough or good generals to lead them against their enemies. These people were called judges. They only came up when the Israelites really needed someone to lead them and get them together to fight against the enemy. God gave them when the nation was in trouble and pleaded him to send someone to help them. Some judges worked alone. Samson was a judge like that and just gave the enemy a very hard time. Others were very wise and gave good advice. The judge Deborah was one like that. Often the judges were good generals like Gideon and called the soldiers of the Israelites together to fight against their enemies. Every now and then the judges destroyed all the idols before God helped them to chase the enemies off. So God was teaching the Israelites to look for a way they could be governed by the living God himself through the work of people who listened to him in their hearts. One day, in the future, they would be ready to receive the King Jesus and to be kings themselves over anything that Satan could try to keep them away from God. One day, people would really be children of God himself.
Sê, Metsie, wat? Hallo, maats. Hey, ek is nou juist bezig om nog 'n paar woorde te leer in die woordeboek. Maar ek dink is nou tyd dat ek uitvind of hierdie Sotho klasse regtig waar gaan vrugte afwerp. Ek dink ek moet hierdie mevrou Beauty Mabusa weer probeer skakel en dan kan ek kyk of ek vir haar verstaan of nie. Ja, ek dink is tyd dat ons hierdie klasse nou toets. Ja, sê. Ja. Dumela. Oka.
Can this
Oh,
be? And
you
is
wanna
this
win a
true?
Oka.
Come on, you and you and you. He wants